Today, we will look at a new feature in Reading 3D. It's called the Instruction tab. To get to the Instruction tab, you will go through NC Ed Cloud and choose the Amplify Reports option. Once on the Amplify homepage, you will choose the purple M-Class Reading 3D box. Just as in the past, we have Class Summary, BOI, MOI, EOI tabs, and today we'll be looking at the new tab called Instruction. This tab will give you specific activities to help each student in your class. These activities may be done one-on-one, in small groups, or depending on the needs in your class as a whole class. Once you've clicked the Instruction tab, you'll click on a student's name to get the specific activities that's been selected for them. You can also click on any of the activity names to get the directions, the detailed instructions or directions for each activity. As we look at each skill mentioned, please notice the Dibbles measure that's listed. This will help you to know which measure we're working on, which measure this observation has been collected from. You also notice this information button. You can click on this button to get more detailed information from the item level advisor. You can still locate all of this information from the Now What tab. However, Amplify has created this to be quicker for you to dig deeper into each child's data. You'll also see the Dibbles measure listed beside of each activity. This helps you know what Dibbles measure to progress monitor to let you know if this activity is helping your student. Remember, progress monitoring is a check on our instruction to let us know if this activity and or instruction is working. At the top of the page, you will see a tab called Comprehension. Click on this tab for lessons and passages to help build comprehension skills. First, choose a grade. On this side, under Lessons, you will see that there are several to choose from. Select the lesson that you need. These lessons are more skill-specific and are generic, meaning they can be used for any story or text in your room. On this side, you'll see Passages. Under the Passages section, you will find different types of passages that can be used as needed. Okay, let's look at an example. Remember, to get to this section, we have gone through the NC Ed Cloud. We've chosen Amplify Reports and then clicked on the purple 3D box. Once you get to the Class Summary, you can choose the Instruction tab. Then you're going to select a student's name. Once here, you'll see all types of information that's been gathered by the device for this specific student. Some observations, some recommendations. You'll see that the student has been placed in Group 6 in the small group instruction. You can click Manage Groups here to go to the regular small group instruction page that we've used in the past. You'll also see here the phonemic awareness skills and the alphabetic principle and basic phonics, and you'll see the color that's been assigned to each one of these skills based on the BOI assessment. Now remember, we've talked about shades of color. When we talk about a student receiving the benchmark goal, meeting the benchmark goal, remember that number to meet the benchmark goal is the lowest number allowed to be for that child to be considered proficient in this skill. That would be like given the letter grade C. So keep that in mind as we look at students with green scores. Take a look and see how green is that score. Is it more of a yellowish green, or is it a dark emerald green? How dark, how far above the benchmark goal has this student was this student's score? You'll also see some activities listed here. Here's your comprehension button up at the top. As you slide down, we'll take a look at these skills that are mentioned. These are the observations that the device collected as it went through to see different errors that were repeated, things like that. Remember, when you see the ear is referring to the phonological or phonemic awareness skills. When we see the ear, we are reminded that these skills are all completed as oral activities, meaning the student may see picture cards, may have chips or different devices to manipulate, to pull down as they're hearing different sounds, but they won't see words or letters. When you see here, this observation came from the PSF assessment. When you click on the Information tab, it lets you know that this student successfully segmented most sounds but had difficulty with some specific sounds. They may benefit from instruction that focuses on segmenting and blending words, including these phonemes, and this talks about additional assessments may be necessary to determine specific instructional needs. Again, if you notice, this observation came from the PSF assessment. If you notice all the activities listed here, you will see which skill it is and which assessment can be used to progress monitor in to see if this activity has helped our student build those necessary skills. Here's another observation that came from the PSF assessment. It says repeats word. It says this child often repeats words and may benefit from instruction that focuses on early phonological awareness skills such as rhyming, segmenting syllables, and identifying initial sounds. It goes on to talk about how they develop these skills and how it increases in difficulty along the way. We've talked a lot about this in the past, where we're talking about those the phonological awareness activities, phonemic awareness activities. Those activities must be built so those skills are solid before the phonics skills can be worked on. They build on each other as we go. Another observation from the PSF assessment is that the student is weaker with ending sounds than initial sounds, and it goes on to say that he successfully segmented more of the initial sounds than he was able to do the ending sounds. And those are important information, and in just a moment we'll go back and look at the student's individual student summary and see some specifics about how these observations were formed. We also have some information that was, observations that was collected through the Nonsense Word Fluency Assessment. You'll notice here that we now have the picture of the I. This is referring to when we bring the letters in. So now the student is hearing the sounds. They understand how words are made up of sounds. Now they're able to start putting those letters that match those sounds. And so they're starting to be able to look at the letter, pick the sound out, put it all together. As we slide down, we'll see that there are lots of activities. There are different numbers of activities listed for each student in your class. Some of these activities are some of the same activities, so you can do them in small groups, and some of them are more specific to specific students in your class. Again, you notice all of these were phonemic awareness skills. They do get harder as you build down, so these activities increase in difficulty as well. And then you start with your phonics skills, which can be measured by that Nonsense Word Fluency assessment when you progress monitor. Remember, progress monitoring is for us. It's a check on our instruction, is what we're doing, working for this particular student. A student who is struggling with reading skills, they need the best instruction and the best activity that fits their needs. And so the progress monitoring and the timing of our progress monitoring helps us to keep that in line and in check for our students. Remember, when we talk about the colors of scores, these colors are really for us as the adults as well. These colors let us know what type of instruction is needed for this student and how often the student is needing some help. Let's take a look at some specific activities. Here's one of the first games that was listed for this student. It's called Aliens of Past Picture Activity. Remember, we're still looking at our phonemic awareness skills. We're segmenting and blending oral phonemes orally. It's working with the PSF assessment. Up here at the top, you'll find the purpose of each one of these activities. This is the purpose of this activity is to teach students how to divide words into phonemes. Remember, phonemes are sounds, and blend the phonemes, or blend those sounds, back into words. Students will practice orally segmenting words that contain both continuous sounds and stop sounds. And remember those continuous sounds, if you need specifics, you can click here to give you some more information. The continuous sounds are sounds like the letter M and the letter S, those sounds that can be made as long as we have air in our lungs. The stop sounds, you can find a list and some more information here, but those stop sounds are those sounds that the air stops when we're making that sound, so it's more of a short or sometimes a clipped sound depending on the letter. It says, before you begin, find 10 pictures of easily recognizable items like nut, fan, rat, gum, those kinds of pictures. If you have a first steps set in your set of word cards in your room, you may have the beginning sound word cards. The beginning sound picture cards. If so, you may use those. You have lots of other places available to get those pictures, but if you're not sure or can't find them, you can always click here. Amplify has provided us a page where we can download our own printable picture cards, print those, and have those ready for our students. So just like with our framework, when we work through these activities, we have the first piece is the model, where the teacher models the I do part. Then we have the we do part, where the teacher and the students do it together, and then we have more of the you do part, where the student works on it individually. Here's listed all the things that we're going to say. So the warm-up here says, I'm going to pretend to be an alien from planet Paz who's looking at pictures of things on Earth. On Paz, people speak in a strange way, like we speak, but much more slowly. For example, if aliens see this picture, and you're holding up the picture of a can, instead of saying the word can, they say k, and they touch their arm like this when they talk. So this is where we're talking about the arm blending or the roller coaster, depending on what you call it. Where you touch your shoulder for the first sound, your elbow for the middle sound, and your wrist or your hand for the final sound. And then you run your hand all the way down your arm as you blend the word back together. This is where it comes in handy to start with those continuous sounds, so that as we're touching our shoulder and working our way down to our elbow, we have that sound that can continue until we get all the way to the vowel sound. Now, keep in mind that this is a scaffold for students, so it's not something that we will continue doing forever, but it might be a place that you would like to start to use those continuous sounds. Then you can move to stop sounds, and then you can interchange them back and forth as they get better and better. You're going to demonstrate that as you're touching your shoulder. And then we're going to, now it's your turn. You must all pretend to be aliens from the planet Paz. When I show you the picture, think of the picture silently. Then I will say, what is this? And you'll say the word slowly and touch your arm as the aliens do in Paz. Afterwards, I'll ask you to say the word quickly, like we do on Earth. This is a fantastic activity for blending, arm blending, roller coaster blending, whatever you call it, to work through with our students. It kind of sets a purpose for it, and the purpose is more of playing a game or making it fun, like talking like aliens. It just gives us another piece of that. Let's take a look at some more activities. Here's another activity that's also listed to help build the phonemic awareness skills. It's talking about onsets and rhymes. It says the purpose of this activity is for students to practice blending an onset and a rhyme and to say the word. So again, the teacher will model. We're going to play a game where we'll make a word by combining the two parts that I say. I'll say the beginning part and then pause, and then I'll say the ending part of the word. You'll put the two parts together to make the new word. We're going to model for the student. Listen to me do the first one. The word begins with and ends with op. Remember when we see the virgules, the lines beside of the letter, that's letting us know that we're talking about letter sounds, and so we don't say the letter name when we see those. We say the sound that's made between those two virgules. Let's say the sounds together. So you're going to ask the students to help you. Op, op, mop. Say it with me. Now say op. Say them together fast. Op. What's that word? Mop. And so then we're going to do some do it together, some we do practice time. You're going to have them do some next words. you're looking for that correct response, and this gives you some information of what to do if the student or students, if they're not able to give you that correct response, how to work through that process. Then as you notice, when you slide on down, you'll see lots of words to try and to work with. You can use these words. You can also use the words from Journeys or other words that you're working on in your classroom. All right, let's take a look at another activity. Here's another activity that builds the phonemic awareness skill. It's called Syllable Stand and Sit. This is a great activity for when your students need to get a little bit of that energy out. They need to be able to move in a little bit and learning at the same time. So it says the student will practice orally segmenting and blending syllables by standing up and sitting down alternately for each of the syllables. Again, when we're talking about phonemic awareness, we're talking about the activity being done orally. The child may see pictures. The child may have tips or things to manipulate to pull sounds down, or they may be using their body, standing up and sitting down, but they will not be seeing words for a phonemic awareness activity. So at the beginning it says for the teacher to say, let's move our bodies to show the parts of words called syllables. We'll stand up for the first part and sit down for the second part. Watch me do the first word. The word is pencil. It has two parts, pen, sol. I will say the first part when I stand up. Watch me. Pen, as you stand up. The second part of the word is seal. I'll say it as I sit down. Watch. Seal, as you sit down. And then we're going to put it back together and we have pencil. Then we're going to ask them to do one with us. Again, it walks through the correct response or the incorrect response and how to help students understand what you're asking them to do and how this activity works. And then we're going to practice some more, and then here's a whole set of words. Again, you can use these words or you can use words from Journeys to make this activity more appropriate depending on the needs of your students. All right, let's take a look at another one. This is another activity listed. Again, I mentioned they get sometimes the increase in difficulties the activities do as you go down the list, and that's the case with this one. This is near the bottom of the phonemic awareness list of activities to work on. Remember, these are skills that build on each other, so we start with the bottom and we work our way up and we work our way to more difficult material. So this one is called 3 Words, New Word. The purpose of this activity is for the students to practice blending 3 sounds to make new words. The student will hear 3 short words. Then the student says the initial sounds of each of those words, and then they blend those sounds together to make a new word. Again, this is a more difficult activity and will be great to work towards as your students increase in this skill. So, teacher does the modeling. We're going to make a new word by listening to the sounds in other words. You'll hear 3 words. When I give you a word, I want you to say the first sound only. Then I want you to blend the 3 sounds together to make a new word. If you remember this particular student, one of the observations that was made talked about the student being better with beginning sounds than they were with ending sounds. And so this is building on the student's strengths and helping them add some activities and some practices to build the pieces that need to be built. So we're working on those ending sounds as well. So let's try one. Are you ready? We'll start with these words: bat, apple, and top. The first sound in, the words are ball, apple, and top. Sorry about that. The first sound in the word ball is b. Remember, this is one of those short clipped sounds. We don't want the students to be pronouncing the letter B as b. Don't add that sound at the end. This is very important for us to be enunciating correctly, but also gives us a chance to notice our students and notice our students' abilities. Are they able to pronounce these sounds correctly? That's going to make a difference when they start blending words together, when they start spelling words and that kind of thing. So the first sound in the word ball is b. The first sound in the word apple is a. The first sound in the word top is t. Remember, that's one of those sounds that's made with our voice box off. We talk about the noisy and the quiet, or the voiced and unvoiced sounds. This is an unvoiced sound. So make sure your students are making those sounds correctly. The 3 sounds are b, a, t. When I put b, a, t together, the new word is bat. Let's try another one. The first word is ball. What's the first sound in the word ball? Remember, you're listening for that short clipped sound of b. The second word is ed. What's the first sound you hear in the word ed? Eh. And the third word is dog. What's the first sound you hear in the word dog? D. The new word is b-e-d, bed. Remember to only use the first sound in each word and then put those first sounds together to make a new word. Again, this is a more difficult activity and it increases on down through here. The next three words are girl, it, and violin. You pull out the first sounds of each one of those words. You get g, I, v for the word give. Again, this is very important that you're doing this as an oral activity, and at this point the student is not seeing any letters or any words. They're just hearing the sounds and sometimes seeing pictures. Slide on down and you'll see that they practice it a couple times and then they give you lots of words to practice with. Again, you can use all of these words. You can extend this activity to use with words from Journeys or any other activity set of words that your student may be needing. As your students' phonemic awareness skills increase, and you'll be able to tell that by progress monitoring in PSF, as those numbers increase and that skill gets more solid, your student will be ready to talk about phonics, or the alphabetic principle. This is an activity that works on the alphabetic principle, identifying the letter-sound correspondence, and the way to check these activities is with the nonsense word fluency assessment. The purpose of this activity is to give the student an opportunity to practice associating letter names with sounds. You'll say a word and show a page printed with 3 letters. Remember, once we get to the phonics or the alphabetic principle skills, we're now bringing in the letters of the words. The student will select the letter that spells the final sound from the letters on the page. If you remember, this specific student that we were looking at earlier was much better at identifying those initial sounds than they were at identifying the ending sounds. So this gives practice on those ending sounds. The student must be able to isolate the phonemes in order to complete this activity. That's where we're talking about building on these skills. They must be able to isolate the phonemes. That's what we were doing with our phonemic awareness skills. We were isolating the sounds in the words and blending those sounds back together. You will need to print your own printable letter pages. So download and print those so that you'll have pages with these particular letters on them. You can also create your own if needed. We're going to practice linking sounds and letters. I'm going to say a word. When you hear the word, I want you to look at this page. There are 3 letters on the page. I want you to choose the letter that spells the final or the last sound in the word. So the page we're going to put in front of them have the K, the S, and the B. So the first word is bulb. The letters on the page are K, S, and B. I know the sound B is at the end of the word bulb, and the B sound is spelled with the letter B. My answer is B. If you notice here that we're asking them to say the sound and the letter in this activity when they give you the answer, so they're making that stronger connection of the letter and the sound together. Just helps them repeat it. Remember, 7 to 10 times for our average learner to repeat skills, to be able to own them, and it's much higher for students who are struggling in different areas. So here's another one. The word is lamp. Say the last sound with me. P. Which letter spells P? Remember, P is one of those unvoiced sounds. So take a look at the 3 letters on the page. You may need to have them identify them if necessary, and then find the letter that says P. And we would like for them to say P. P. Put those 2 things together. Have a few more practice items, and then you'll see the activities down here at the bottom. There's a long list to practice with to help build the alphabetic principle skill. Again, once you do some of these activities, you can do the nonsense word fluency progress monitoring assessment to see if these activities are helping this particular student. All right, let's go back to our page and take a look at some of the comprehension activities that are available. Back up here at the top of the page, we see the Comprehension tab. Let's select the Comprehension tab and look at the activities that are available for this particular student. This will default to the grade level that you're in. If your student needs a different grade level of passages and lessons, you may choose that from the options up here at the top. If we go through here and look at lessons, we see that there are things that students can do in small groups or in one-on-one. We're looking for inferences, we're looking for a main idea, we're looking at retail, we're looking at story elements. Any of these you can click on, and it gives you a set of instructions. Remember, these instructions are more generic so that you can use them for any activity. It will give you the sample passage that they are using to show you some sample answers and what you're targeting, what you're looking for. So this is story elements for grade 1. The goal is that students learn to identify story elements and use this knowledge to build their mental model and to respond to questions about the text. Estimated about 35 minutes. Can do 1 to 6 students, so you can do it one-on-one or do it in a small group. The sample passage is the City Mouse and the Country Mouse. You need a copy of the passage and you need the story maps that will be used. So the first part you're going to do, and here's Mr. Say again, just like we have in our assessments. When Mr. Say shows up, that's what we're going to say. So we're going to provide a brief explanation of the text. We're going to read a new passage today. It's about a mouse that lives in the city and a mouse that lives in the country. Then we're going to talk about the skill. Today we're going to pay close attention to the parts of our story. In every story there are important parts, things like character, setting, problem, solution. And then we're going to do some close reading. We're going to model this skill. We're going to give a brief description of each of the story elements as we go. Then it gives us our instructions of how to help our students go. After reading page 1, it gives us what we're going to say there. We're going to continue to practice the skill. We're going to continue on down through here. This gives us a page, the page numbers and the characters. This, if you're not using this particular book, this is one of those activities and lesson plans where you need to sit down either alone or with your PLC and work out other additional stories, maybe stories that you're already using in your flex groups, that you have ready to use in your SSR books, those kinds of things, and to set this up and be ready for what page you're going to stop on, make your lesson plan set out for the pages and the questions, the things that you're going to ask to get to these specific skills. So it goes on down through there to let you know. Then you're going to ask some text-dependent questions. So if you're not using this particular story, you're using one from your classroom, you'll just need to create those text-dependent questions and have them ready and available for when you're ready to complete this activity. Down here at the bottom is listed your anchor standards. All right, let's take a look at some of the passages that are. Here's your passage, the City Mouse and the Country Mouse, and you can use the passage directly from here, or like we said, you can use that story elements lesson to go with any of the other stories that you already have. We also have a story for Grandpa, we have a boy named Leo. There are lots of different options, and so when you click on it, it actually gives you the story listed here ready to be read with your students. You can print these, you can use this up on the smartboard, whatever's working for your particular set of students. It has the whole entire story here that was used. These are the page numbers that go along with the page numbers that were listed before that talked about each story element, as well as the pages to stop on and ask the questions. There is another part of the Instructions tab that I would like to share with you today, and you can find that from going through NC Ed Cloud, choosing your Amplify Reports, and this time choosing the orange Training button. You'll notice up at the top of the page, one of the options from the Professional Learning Resources says M-Class Instruction Tutorial. It includes the Now What tools, and it's a new one, some of the new Instruction tab. We're going to choose that. Then you're going to notice that you have several things to choose from here. You have the directions and the instructions for the Instruction tab. Here's a small group advisor. The item level advisor gives you some specific ways to use these observations. But here's some resources for parents, and it's a fantastic piece. It talks first about how to generate your Home Connect letters, but then it talks about this M-Class Home Connect site. I would like to go there now, so click on that. I think this Home Connect site will be a great resource for our parents. Lots of times they have questions about different activities and different ways that they can help build those specific skills that will help their student and their child at home. And so this gives them an important way to work on that. You also have the option to switch this into Spanish. So if you notice, the first skill listed is the phonological awareness, and these build on each other. So we have the phonological awareness. They have to get this skill down pat, then it goes to phonics, then we build the accurate and fluent reading, and then we get to the reading comprehension. So this phonological awareness tab, remember, it's got the ear here, and you want to talk to your parents about the fact that it has the ear there because all of these activities will be done orally. The student will not be seeing any words or letters throughout these activities. So when you click on the activities, you'll see that you have the option to list it as all activities, so it gives you all the ones listed. It also tells you here if it's at home or on the go. You can also sort them that way. Click and have all of the at-home games come up. You can do it as a PDF and print them if you would like. You can print them for your parents or give your parents the opportunity to print them themselves. And so it talks about different things that they can do around the house with different items or people around the house. Then you have some that are on the go. So maybe if you're shopping, if you're out shopping, or if you're on a walk, you can look for different things, different activities here. Go back to the home page. You'll see that the phonics tab is next. There are 21 activities here. The phonics tab is the tab, that's where we're bringing the letters and the sounds together, which is why we have the picture of the I on here. So when you click on here, you have where you can sort it again for the at-home or the on-the-go. You can also print it in PDF form if you need to. Some of these activities will be, sometimes you have some activities that are linked, so that it's nice when they're actually on this Home Connect website page, they can go directly to the activity. But it gives them the target skill, tells them what to do, gives them the instructions. Sometimes there's a little more that you need to add to it. Again, if there's a link, you have the option here to go to the activity and bring it on that way. This continues with accurate fluent reading and into reading comprehension. So depending on what grade level you are and what your students' needs are, you'll need to direct your parents into which direction to go here so that they know where to start and which activities to focus on, and then be in communication with them as to when they're ready to go to the next one. So here's some accurate and fluent reading. And so here you have different games, Penguins on Ice. This game is from BB Starship, requires the player to organize the penguins from grammatically correct sentences. So it's going to build on lots of different types of skills. This one provides an array of narrated stories for your child to choose from, to read and to read along with. Here's some online stories. Some read schoolwork together, help your child read schoolwork, read any instructions together with your child. So sometimes it's just as simple as helping them with pieces, but this is just a great resource for our parents to have when they're trying to help their student, their child. Here's some reading comprehension. There are lots of activities here. It says there were 76 activities, and so you're doing different skills. Context clues, drawing conclusions, main idea, retail, using supporting details, retail and supporting details, main idea. Those skills that we work on all the time throughout the day with our students at school from kindergarten on up. Here's an opportunity to help our parents support their students, their children at home.